Your next paycheck is coming, but if you don't make these 3 simple money moves first, you could be setting yourself up for another stressful month. Most people wait until payday to think about their money, but by then, it's already too late. These quick money moves will help you stay ahead so you can actually make progress instead of just catching up. If you don't decide where your money should go ahead of time, it will just disappear, whether that's impulse spending, unexpected expenses, or just daily life adding up faster than you thought. I'm Rose Colburn, and I help people take control of their money with real, BS-free financial strategies that actually work in real life, because no one should feel like financial freedom is out of reach. Today, I'm sharing 3 quick money moves that you need to make before your next paycheck hits the bank. No matter how frequently you get paid, whether that's weekly, bi-weekly, or monthly, these money moves will set you up for a great month. The way you handle your paycheck before it even arrives in your account is what determines whether you'll make progress this month or just keep treading water like always. If you don't take control of your money before payday, it will control you. So before your next paycheck arrives, review where your money went last time and make adjustments. Most people don't realize they're repeating the same financial patterns month after month until they stop and take a step back. Maybe you overspent on takeout or subscriptions, or maybe you forgot to set aside money for an upcoming bill and now it's past due. If you don't reset your plan now, you'll just keep falling into the same traps. What's one expense from your last paycheck that didn't add real value to your life? Something that, just looking back, you probably could have skipped. When you start noticing these patterns, you can start fixing them. But resetting your plan isn't just about cutting things out. It's about making sure your money is actually working for you. And that brings us to the next step. Now that you've taken control of your paycheck and know exactly what needs to be covered, it's time to flip the order of how you handle your money. One of the biggest reasons people stay stuck in the paycheck-to-paycheck cycle is that they don't decide where their money should go before payday. Instead, they just check the calendar to see when their next paycheck will arrive, and when it does, they just react to their expenses rather than controlling them. But here's the thing. If you don't give your money a plan, it will disappear. If you wait until your paycheck hits the bank, you're already behind. That's why you need to shift your mindset and pay yourself first. This one small change is what separates people who always feel broke from those who actually build financial security. This is where the wealth building paycheck process comes in. Most people pay their bills first, spend second, and save last, if they even bother to save at all. But if you want to build financial security, that order needs to flip. And here's what that looks like. Pay yourself first. This means setting aside money for your freedom fund, purposeful savings, and investments before anything else. That amount doesn't matter at first. What matters is making it a habit. And the easiest way to do this is to set up automatic transfers before your paycheck arrives. Even if it's just 10, 20, or 50 bucks, automating your savings takes the decision out of your hands. If you haven't started saving for emergencies yet, set up your Freedom Fund now and start sending money to it every payday. If your Freedom Fund is at your target amount, send it to your purposeful savings or investments. Next, cover your essentials. This includes rent, mortgage, utilities, food, insurance, transportations, medical costs, prescriptions. These are the non-negotiables. Then set some spending limits. What's left over is your discretionary spending, but the key is to make sure you decide how much is reasonable instead of just letting it all disappear. Now, there is one exception to this. If you're currently in survival stage, meaning you're struggling just to cover the essentials, your first priority is ensuring these core expenses are paid, and then taking small steps to move into the growth stage. That means essentials come first, and building stability comes second. If there's even a little bit left over, begin putting it into your Freedom Fund. No matter how much you're able to save, the goal is to get out of survival mode so you can start making real financial progress. Once you've stabilized, that's when you start following the wealth building paycheck process. Now, let me share with you one of the most common things I hear when I introduce this process. the first thing someone will say to me is, but there's already hardly anything left over after I get my paycheck. And my first question back is always, is that before or after you started spending once your bills were paid? Then we sit there for a moment, looking at each other as the reality of that question sinks in. We already know the answer, but every once in a while, someone will ask for clarification. Wait, you mean you want me to put money into my freedom fund before I buy anything? And my answer is always the same. Yes, exactly. Because here's the thing. If you wait until the end of the month to see what's left over, chances are there won't be anything left. That's just how our brains work. When money sits in our accounts, we naturally find ways to spend it. I've done it time and time again. I see that extra few $100s sitting in my account and I'm like, oh, well, I can afford this now. But that's not the way it's supposed to work. So whether it's the little things that add up or the bigger purchases, we always find a way to convince ourselves that we need something, that we have to do something with that money, and that's just not true. But when you shift the way you handle your paycheck and prioritize saving first, even if it's just a small amount, you start breaking that cycle. You stop spending what's available and start spending what's intentional. And that's why this works, even if you don't earn a lot, because building financial security isn't about how much you make, it's about how you manage what you have. Every small deposit into your freedom fund adds up, and over time, those small amounts create the financial breathing room you didn't think was possible. You see, the reality is most people lose their paycheck every payday before they even realize it. Let's say you get paid on Friday. You tell yourself, you're gonna be responsible this payday. But then you grab takeout because, it's payday. You see a sale on something you swear you were gonna buy eventually. You tell yourself you'll catch up on savings next paycheck. But then the bills hit. Unexpected expenses pop up. And by the time you look at your account on Monday or Tuesday, you're already waiting for your next paycheck to arrive. Sound familiar? That's what happens when you don't set intentional priorities ahead of time. If the idea of saving first feels scary or overwhelming, start with something small but consistent. Pick a number you won't miss, like $10 or $20. It could even be $100. It doesn't matter. Just pick a number that you won't notice. Automate it so it moves to your freedom fund before you can even think about spending it. Once you get used to it, gradually increase the amount. Even if you're only saving a little bit, you're breaking the cycle, and that's what leads to bigger financial wins over time. Now that you've taken control of your paycheck and made a plan, the next step is making sure any extra cash actually works for you, so it's not just slipping through your fingers by the end of the month. Here's where a lot of people go wrong. They tell themselves, if there's anything left over after my bills and I buy the things that I need this week, then I'll put it towards my debt or my savings. But guess what? Most of the time, there's nothing left because you pay your bills and you spend the money, and then one thing leads to another and the money's gone. That's why you need to decide up front where your extra cash is going. And you have two main choices. One is to use it to eliminate debt faster, and two is to put it toward building wealth and security. So let's talk about paying off debt faster. If you have high interest debt, credit cards, payday loans, or anything over 10% interest, prioritizing extra payments toward your debt is one of the best financial moves you can make. Why? Because every dollar you put toward high interest debt today saves you from paying extra in interest later. Now, there are two popular debt payoff methods. The debt avalanche, where you pay off the highest interest debt first, saving the most money in the long run, and the debt snowball. You pay off the smallest debt first for quick wins and motivations. So if you're struggling with motivation, the debt snowball is great for building momentum. But if your goal is to save the most money, the debt avalanche is the way to go. And guess what? There's no rule that says you can't switch between the two to make it work for you. So here's a quick guide to help you decide. If you have any debt that's over 10%, this will cost you the most interest in the long term. If all your debt is below 5 to 6% interest, you can balance paying it off with investing for the future. And in my coaching program, I have a debt payoff calculator that helps you compare both methods and figure out which one will save you the most money. But even without a calculator, the key is just choosing a strategy and getting started so you're making progress towards your goals, even if you decide to switch methods later. So the second thing is building wealth and security. If your debt is manageable, or if you're already making solid progress on it, then your extra money should be working for you by growing your freedom fund, your purposeful savings, or your investments. And here's how to decide where to put your extra cash. If your freedom fund, which is your emergency savings, plus 10 to 20% on top of that for unexpected opportunities, isn't fully built, then prioritize that first so you don't have to rely on credit if an emergency comes up. If you have a major expense coming up, like a car repair or insurance premiums, even holiday shopping, add it to your purposeful savings so you don't have to dip into your freedom fund. If you're stable and want to build long-term wealth, start putting extra cash into investments, Roth IRA, index funds, REITs, and etc. The goal with this third pre-paycheck money move is to make a decision where any extra cash is going to go so that when paycheck arrives, it doesn't get lost through random spending. So here's your action step. Before you receive your next paycheck, decide where your extra cash is going. If you have debt, commit to making an extra payment. If you're building savings, move the money before you have a chance to spend it. If you're investing, set up an automatic transfer so it happens without thinking. Even if it's just an extra $20, $50, $100, small amounts add up fast, and this is how you actually break free from the paycheck to paycheck cycle. And here's a bonus tip. Take a look at your bank account right now after you finish watching this video. Is there anything extra in your account from your last paycheck? If so, how much of it can you transfer to one of the three goals I just mentioned? By doing that, you've already won the battle of keeping more of your money from your last paycheck. It's almost like you traveled back in time and reclaimed that money before it disappeared into the ether. What you do before payday is what determines whether you move forward or stay stuck. And if you want to learn more about how to build financial security and wealth step by step, be sure to check out this video next. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.